All right, so I want to thank everyone so much for joining us. I am joined by financial coach extraordinaire, Nicole Weaver. We are on Stork Mode Part 3. So if you have not listened to Part 1 and Part 2, please go back and listen to those. Part 1 of Stork Mode is what want to be expecting families can do in order to prepare to grow their family before they're actually expecting. Part 2 is what you can do financially if you are expecting to prepare. And then this is going to be for everyone whose baby is already here, right? So we're in postpartum and you're like, okay, so what can I do now that my baby is here? Like, do I have any options? How can I still set myself up and my family up for the best financial experience? So because I know some people won't listen to part 1 and 2 because maybe it's not applicable and their baby is already here and they don't plan on having any more kids. I'll just ask Nicole just to introduce herself because I know you guys missed that intro on part 1 and part 2. And it's really important because she has done so much work herself financially and has a beautiful family that I'll let her tell you guys all about.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. So my name is Nicole Weaver. Like she said, I am a financial coach. I specialize in all things personal finance, from that runs the gamut from figuring out how to not live paycheck to paycheck all the way to building wealth. And I love this discussion of before, during, and after pregnancy and what it looks like financially, because I think you don't really realize kind of how much having a child impacts your financial world. And so it's such a cool conversation. I personally have a daughter who just turned 1. And so we've been going through for the last 13 months, all of the stuff that I'm about to talk about. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about after you already have a baby is stuff that I've experienced, and decisions I've made financially. And then also, what people have kind of shared with me about lessons that they learned as well after they had a baby. And so yeah, I love talking about money. I think people don't like talking about money, but I love talking about money. And I think people get a little bit paralyzed with all the options and what ifs about money. And so I think being able to kind of streamline some of this for people and helping people kind of make those decisions, it's really fun. I really enjoy it. So
Yeah. How was your money journey, like going from where you started to where you are now? And what were some of like the things that you and your husband found helpful to do together as you guys planned your family now that your daughter is 1?
yeah, so we've over the last we've been married for 8 years this weekend, and
Oh,
we in
happy
that time
anniversary.
paid off over $75,000 in debt, and also paid cash for a couple of trips and a new car, and not a new car, it was a used car, new to us. And so we did that by being really intentional with our money, and that is the biggest thing that I found is it's all about intentionality and mindfulness with your money. The less you pay attention to it, the more of it tends to disappear. And you look up and go, what the heck? How do I make X amount of dollars and I have nothing to show for it? And so that's one of our biggest lessons over the last 8 years has been, let's just be intentional with what we're doing. Doesn't mean we have to restrict or, not have fun, but we need to be conscious of what's going on with our money.
Yeah.
And then the key word that you used is together. We've done it together. We've made decisions together. We've worked through things together. And some of the things I'll talk about lessons learned with having our baby, because certain things I got really excited about clothes and outfits, and then he got really excited about toys and like educational toys. And so like we would find ourselves spending way too much money on certain things, and we would go, okay, let's
Yeah.
dial this back a little bit. But it's always been about that mindfulness and intentionality, and then making those decisions together has been the biggest thing for us.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's hop right in. I know you have like a list of tips that you want to give people. And so I don't want to get in your way. Let's go ahead and tell everybody what they really need to know if they are at the point where they have a new little baby and they want to know how not to go off the rails with finances.
Yeah, so the first 2 tips are pretty basic. This is ways to just generally save money when it comes to all of the things that you need to buy for a new baby or even for a child. But really, that first year is pretty hecka expensive because you're talking diapers, you're potentially talking formula. And this is something we talked about in part 1 and part 2, if you want to go back and look at. But, if you're really wanting to breastfeed, be prepared and aware that it is possible that may not be a journey you get to take. That was the case for me. My daughter had lots of issues latching, and we ended up having to shift to formula. which is expensive. And so just being aware of kind of what those things are going to look like. So the first one is buy in bulk whenever possible. I know that seems super obvious, but people don't understand there's a difference between buying a big box of something and actually getting a bulk discount. So if you're going to go to like Costco or Sam's or even Walmart, the way to know that you're actually getting a deal is you want to compare the cost per item or per ounce. So if you're buying formula, it would be like the number of cents per ounce. For whatever reason, we started looking at dollars a day. I don't know why we did that, but either way, the cost per item or per unit. So the dollars per ounce, the dollars per item. That's how you're going to know you're getting a better deal by buying in bulk. If you buy just a massive box, but it's actually 3 cents more per diaper than the small box, you're not getting a deal. You're just getting a big box, right? So that's how you know you're really getting a bulk discount. Compare. Okay. Take the time to like do your research. It's really okay if you take 30 minutes to compare 5 different stores and choose the store that's going to get you the better prices and the better discount. We actually found, shockingly, in our area that diapers and formula were both cheaper at Target of all places. Like typically you'd think Walmart or something like that. Target was actually the cheapest place for us. And so we did that comparison and that ended up being where we shopped. So cost per ounce or per item is going to help you know if you're getting a good deal on a bigger box. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
And then the second thing, again, is just ways to spend less money on the things you're already going to buy. And that is, don't be afraid of hand-me-downs or buying used, buying at garage sales. You have stores, and I'm not promoting any specific stores, but the example, like Once Upon a Child is an example of a store where you can kind of return or donate or get a little bit of money for used clothes, and then they turn around and sell them for really, really cheap. I got super, super cute full outfits for like $4.
Yeah.
Remember that your baby, your 1-year-old, your 6-month-old will outgrow those outfits very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. And so I know that there are people, and I know because there are people in my family that are like this, that just refuse hand-me-downs. They refuse to wear used clothes. Obviously you don't need to have things with holes and dirt all over them and stains, right? But they must have new, and therefore their expenses are a lot higher. So I'm telling you, that child is going to outgrow that stuff so fast. You're going to wear 5 outfits a day at the beginning. And so don't be afraid to go to those thrift stores, garage sales, hand-me-downs, used clothes. I got massive, like a big trash bag, like big box full of just hand-me-down baby clothes. And I was so grateful because we spent almost no money on clothes for the first 3 to 6 months. And it was really nice. So don't be afraid of that, because you'll probably also find yourself just switching out the same 5 onesies over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Facebook Marketplace is another great place where people are selling used, gently worn baby clothes as well. Yeah.
Totally. We actually even have an auction site, like an auction Facebook page where you can get like a full lot for like $4.
Yeah, if you type in your city buy, sell, trade, there's usually a Facebook group in your city where they do post things for free. Actually, I've seen a lot around the holiday times as well. They post like free meals and giveaways and things like that. They're really, really a great community to be a part of. And then of course there are also many things for sale. So yeah, your city buy, sell, trade should pull up those groups.
Yeah. And even if you get 10 outfits for $5 and 3 of them are too stained or whatever, you got 7 outfits for $5. It's okay. Like, it's okay. Don't be afraid of that, because it's not really worth spending a ton of money on things you're going to outgrow within 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, and feel free to contact the seller, DM them and ask for photos. There should be like a lot of photos of the clothes so you can ensure what you're getting before you buy it.
Totally.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. So those are just like little ways. The next one is more of a mindset shift. And this comes from research with like pediatricians and child life specialists in terms of what kids need as far as toys. Think minimalism when it comes to toys. Now, this is also observations that we've made with our daughter. A couple of things that surround this. One is, if they have too many options and choices, they are overwhelmed. They'll act like they don't want to play. They'll just want to come sit in your lap, because if you put too many things in front of them, they don't know what to do. I found this with my daughter because we would sit her on her blanket and put like all of her toys on her blanket with her, and she would just like look around and she like didn't know what to do.
Oh.
And so having only one or two or three or four toys to choose from at a time, they're actually more likely to engage with those toys. So don't feel like you have to have 4 dozen options for them at any given moment. The other thing is that simple passive toys that are not electronic, that don't talk back to them, that don't have flashing lights, that don't have all of these things, are actually better for development because it forces them to engage and actively do something with the toy in order for it to be fun. Otherwise, all they have to do is push a button and it does all these dancy things. It doesn't require interaction. So I actually grabbed a couple of the ones that we have. So this is my favorite one. When she first got it, she had no idea what to do with it. And then she finally got it and she went like this and she was like, ooh, and then she went like this. And then now she'll just, right? All you have to do is hit it, but it gives that like engagement. And that toy is super cheap because it has no batteries. It has no electronics, right? And so those passive toys, and then things like this, they're like a little tub. And I'm not promoting any specific toys, right? I'm just giving ideas. They're little cups that have holes, so if she puts water in it, it like falls out. But also you have to learn how to like put them in each other, and you have to learn how to get the lid off of it. And so you have to kind of engage with the toy. And as she gets older, she actually learns how to do these things more. But what ends up happening when you choose toys like this, they're a little bit more passive, they're cheaper. Like they're significantly more affordable. And so not only do you need fewer toys, but being willing to have these, you know, lower tech toys that are more affordable, it's actually beneficial for them development wise. And also anyone who has ever had a child, especially under the age of 1, knows that they would rather play with the cardboard box and the water bottle than the toys.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right? So when it comes to toys and things for them to play with, don't bust your budget trying to get all these fancy high-tech toys and have lots and lots and lots of toys, because ultimately it's a waste of money because they're not going to use them. And they're, again, the low-tech toys tend to be better for their development anyways if you talk to like pediatricians and child specialists. So that is a great place to save money.
Yeah, love that tip. Okay. Love it.
And also, I don't have to, just know that there are toy subscription boxes. I won't plug a specific company, but there are toy subscription boxes that are super affordable that give you developmental age specific toys. Amazing. Nice. So the next two come less from, hey, here's a fun way to save money, and more from a financial coach perspective, where I look with my clients. I look not only at currently right now, how do we save money in your budget, but what are we doing? What are we aiming for? Where are we going? What happens long term? And so one of the things you do want to think about long term is college, right? Starting to put money away for college. Yes. But what I got from my community when I asked people, what tips do you have? What did you not think about? I was blown away at this tip. And I was like, yes, I have to tell everybody this. Yes, you want to save long term for college. But don't forget to also start some sinking funds to save for things that are going to come up in the middle, like sports and dance recitals and prom, like all these things, like activities your kids want to do that become really expensive. I've actually joked that my daughter's not allowed to do gymnastics or dance because they're really expensive, because you have to have all of the leotards and everything. Of course, my daughter, as soon as she's like 9 months old, her favorite thing now is to do somersaults. Like she'll just put her head on the ground and wait for you to flip her over. Like, great, now she wants to be a gymnast. And I specifically said no gymnastics. Yeah. But now you can start thinking about those things. So don't just save for the things that are 18 years away. Save for the things that are 5 and 6 years away, when school starts, when, you know, summer sports start, when summer camps come around, the things that they're going to want to do that you may not have the monthly cash flow for the actual price. Start saving now. Start putting money aside now. Even $25 a month now, 5 years from now, is hundreds of dollars that you can start using towards those things. So don't just think about the long term, think about the medium term stuff as well, and start kind of putting some money away for those types of things. I just thought that was a fantastic tip. Yeah. Because you just forget about them until they're like, hey mom, I need $400 for recital. And you're like, what?
Yeah. And money for like field trips and things like that come up along the way, not to mention like buying a car, you know, eventually one day that will happen. So yeah, I love that.
For sure. So think about those middle expenses as well.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I saved the best for last. This is actually my number one most important, most valuable tip, especially if you are a new parent. But also if you have a new child, even if it's your fifth child. You need to make sure that you have updated your will and that you have life insurance. Those are the most important things that you can do as a new parent, whether it's again, your first or your fifth. Make sure your will is completely up to date with who gets what, but also remember, if both you and your partner pass away, your kids have to go somewhere, right? And so having a plan in place for how are your children going to be taken care of if, God forbid, both you and your partner pass away. So make sure your will is taken care of. And life insurance. So the big thing with life insurance is the goal is to replace your contribution to the household, whether it's financial or not, replace your contribution to the household if you were to pass away. And so that typically looks like 8 to 10 times your annual contribution. So if that's an income, you're 8 to 10 times your annual income into life insurance. Typically term life insurance is the best because it's the most affordable. And the goal would be by the time that term is over, we can self-insure because we're wealthy. And so 8 to 10 times your income. If you're a stay-at-home mom, especially if you homeschool your children, I love this fact. I saw this somewhere and I don't even know where I saw it. But if you're a stay-at-home mom and you cook and clean and you school your children and you chauffeur them around and you do all the things that you do for the children, not to mention all the things that you might do for your spouse, if you were to try to replace that by hiring people, you're talking $350,000, $400,000 a year it would cost to replace that function. Wow. So don't think just because I'm a stay-at-home mom, I don't have an income, therefore I don't need life insurance. That is not true. Not even close. If you are a stay-at-home mom, you have so much value added to that home. You also need life insurance because your spouse is going to have to, or a stay-at-home dad, both. If you're a stay-at-home parent, your spouse or partner is going to have to replace you. Yeah. Just function-wise, gonna have to replace who's doing the cooking and cleaning and chauffeuring and teaching, and therefore they're going to need some of that financial support. So life insurance and a will is some of the most important things that you can do for your children, especially when you have new children. Okay. I will tell you, I found out, I want to say last year, that my parents had not updated their will in something ridiculous like 35 years. And so their current active will last year, before they updated it, said that if they passed away, that custody of myself and my brother would go to my aunt. And I was like, I am 33 years old. Oh. Right? And so they literally had not updated their will in 3 decades. And so, especially if you have a new baby, please update your will. Make sure your new baby is in the will. Make sure that you and your partner have had a conversation with family members about who is going to protect and take care of your children in the unforeseen circumstance that you guys do pass away. It's a hard conversation to have, but it is so, so important. Know what's important to you. If you have, I know it seems like it's not a financial thing, but it really is. Boundaries are so important. If you have family members that want to get super, super hurt and frustrated that you didn't pick them, too bad. Be able to speak to why you made the decision that you did, why you feel like it's the best decision for your kids, and then stick to it. That's it. Nobody has any entitlement to your children, right? Nobody is entitled to custody of your children if you pass away. So you guys have that conversation of where do we want our children to go? What do we want that to look like? And just be super confident and get it on paper. Also talk to that person before, make sure they're willing to take your children. We all see those movies, right? Where it's like, surprise, we died and we get to have our children. You're like, what? Yeah. Have conversations, but it's so, so important that you're preparing for the long-term future for your children, especially in the unfortunate event that you pass away. You've got to make sure your children are taken care of. So I know I saved it for last, but it really is the most important thing that you could do.
Yeah. Can I ask a few like quick questions that I think
Yeah,
people may be thinking as they listen to this?
definitely.
Okay, so we'll just go from the last tip. So as far as the will and also the insurance, can you address the fact that sometimes when you work for an employer, they do offer you insurance as part of your benefits package? Sometimes it's like 25,000 or 10,000, like something really low. Do
Mhm.
you advise getting additional term life insurance in addition to that, or do you advise like getting an outside plan that has nothing to do with your employer in case you lose that job?
Yeah, such a great question.
Hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with taking life insurance through your employer. I personally, my employer offers me 1 year salary as my life insurance if I happen to pass away. It's part of their benefits package. I love it. It's great. I'll take it. Right.
Right.
However, if I leave that employer, then I don't have insurance anymore. I don't have life
Right.
insurance anymore. The other thing is, like I said, you're always looking for 8 to 10 times your annual salary in life
Yeah.
insurance. Your
Right.
employer will almost never offer that. And so, definitely worth it to grab extra insurance on top of those things. If you are still young, you can look at a 10 to 20-year term. And then, when that term is almost up, get another 20 to 30-year term to get you into kind of a higher age bracket. Once you are older or start to have illnesses, it does become harder to get term insurance and it becomes a
Hmm.
little bit more pricey.
Yeah.
Again, the goal is by the time we get to the end of that term, we've become wealthy and we can self-insure, meaning you already have that amount of money in an investment. And if you were to pass away, that would go to your family and it would take care of it, right?
Okay.
Um, and so definitely get term life insurance outside of your employer. Number one, because it's almost never enough. Number two, because if you do happen to leave that job, you
Hmm.
suddenly don't have insurance. And you're kind of dependent on that company still offering that as a benefit, right? So
Yes.
we always want to make sure we take control of our own financial situation. So definitely.
Okay. And then as far as the will, what type of professional would people reach out to in order to update a will or get a will in place if they don't have one?
Yeah, great question. So you can do, there's some basic websites you can do that will just have short form wills. If you don't own a lot of things in terms of property, if you don't own a home, or if your property ownership is kind of simple, you can just get, there's tax form websites where you can get a tax form. LegalZoom is an example of that. But if you have a
Mhm.
lot of kids or if you have a lot of properties, a lot of things that you own, or if you think it might be complicated, then an
Mhm.
estate attorney is who you would want to reach out
Okay.
to help you really formulate what do I want my estate to look like,
Mhm.
and how do I write a will in such a way that it's very clear who gets what. Like I said, my parents updated their will last year, and it was a single 2-page document that they basically got on some website like LegalZoom and filled in the names and filled in the addresses.
Okay.
And so if it's super simple, something like that is easy. If it's a little bit more complex, if you have a lot of kids, especially if you have adult children that like might be involved in, like, some of them get more money than others, like if things are going to be a little bit different as far as that goes, then
Mhm.
definitely contact an estate attorney, and kind of go that direction. I always recommend looking into DaveRamsey.com. He has a section called ELP, or endorsed local providers. And so you can actually look up estate attorneys through the endorsed local provider program. And what that does is he's already vetted them and said, these are
Mhm.
people who have the heart of a teacher. They're trying to help. They want to be a part of kind of helping you get what you need, as opposed to being kind of slimy. So you
Mhm.
can kind of lean that direction if you want people that someone else has already vetted. Um,
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just really important that you have a good feeling about that person. It will cost some money up front, especially if you're working with an attorney. But again,
Right.
you're protecting your future and your children's future, and it's definitely worth the investment to make that happen.
Okay. And then I think that as far as the tips that you gave, they were all absolutely incredible. And I really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and expertise. I just wanted to ask you one more question, and that was about your tip about putting money away for kids in college, for their college fund, and then also about sinking funds.
Hmm?
So this is going to be like a few questions. Okay. So, question one, what kind of way do you suggest people put away money for college? I know that there is a specific like fund that is through like Gerber or something that people can put away like money for their kids'
Yeah.
college fund. And then some people can do like investments or investing in the stock market or a mutual fund. So what do you advise?
So your best options, don't use anything that If it's not their job to invest, like you're talking about a baby food company doing investing for you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure that you're going through people who are trusted for what it is that they're offering you. So the two best ways to invest for college are a 529 plan or an ESA, which is an educational savings account. They both have their benefits. They're a little bit different. One of them is for higher level learning only. So like college type things only. One of them can also be used for secondary school. So like if you wanted to send your kid to private school for middle and high school, you could use that fund to pay for that as well. And so really you have to look at your needs and what you're thinking you're going to want. I do have a client who's focused on, I want to be able to send my kids to private school. So I'm going to pay into this fund to make sure I can use it earlier as opposed to just university. And then others, again, can be used for trade schools and not just universities. And so look at your options there. But 529 and ESAs, they will invest your money into the stock market, which is worth it. They're in mutual funds. So you'll get good returns on those. You're averaging about 10 to 12% on those per year, which is a really great return. What you don't want is the Gerber Grow Up plan, I think is the one that you're referring to. The rate of return on that is looking at 2 to 3%. It's not great. People are like, oh, good, it'll save my money. I'm like, you might as well put it in a mattress. It's not. You don't want to invest with a baby food company. You want to invest with an investment company, right?
Yeah.
The other one that people will do is what's called prepaid tuition. A lot of state schools have this option. Again, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, go ahead and pay this year's tuition rates because tuition's going to go up and therefore it will, but tuition tends to go up again by maybe 2 to 3%. And so you're really not saving a whole lot of money, but also you are now entrusting your money to governments, and most governments don't really know how to handle their money. You are also entrusting your money into a program that you're hoping still exists in 18 years, that you're hoping the states, kind of like state pension funds, where have you seen pensions will like suddenly disappear? And these people who've been paying into a pension for 30 years suddenly don't get their pension because again, it's a government program. So if the government suddenly decides to not have that program anymore, then it doesn't matter that you've been paying into it. You might get your money back, but again, you haven't been getting the returns on your money like you should and like you want to. And so definitely a 529 or ESA, both of those plans are also tax advantaged, which means you're going to put money into them after you already pay taxes on them now, but that means you don't have to pay taxes on them later. And so all of that growth, all of the money that you build in that account that you can then take out and use for those qualified expenses for school, you don't have to pay taxes on that, which is so nice. And so definitely worth putting money into those tax advantage growth, tax-free growth plans.
Okay. And then what if people want the option to either send their child to school or give their child money to start a business after they graduate high school? Do you have advice for where they can put their money so that way they have different options?
Yeah, any mutual fund. If you just want to save and invest money that's not in any kind of targeted, because again, if you put it in a retirement account, it has to be used for retirement. So it has to be used later in life. If you put it in these education accounts, it has to be used for education. So if you're pulling that money out for other reasons, you're going to get penalized for it. You're going to get a fee for it and taxed. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to use them to use it for college or even trade school or even anything education related, I might want them to just be able to start their own business, then any kind of mutual fund will work. So you can go through a mutual fund company, you can go through Fidelity or any kind of company like that, or a specific financial advisor. Again, if you want guidance on kind of who to go to, SmartVestor Pro through Dave Ramsey gets specific investors that are good at that. And you can just start investing in the market yourself into good growth stock mutual funds, again, that are averaging 10 to 12%. Just know at that point that money, when you withdraw it, you'll pay capital gains tax on that. That's typical for any kind of investment. But what it does allow you to do is just pay taxes and not also get penalized and pay extra fees for using it for something it wasn't originally intended for. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there a minimum of how much money you have to have in order to start a mutual fund or any of the educational funds that you mentioned earlier?
Great question. With the educational funds, no, not at all. You just have to find somebody that's willing to let you do that. And same with mutual funds. You just have to find an investor that's willing to let you do that. And again, this is why I always suggest going through a trusted investor, or getting recommendations, or going through SmartVestor Pro. There are investors, especially if they work for larger investment agencies, investment companies, things like Northwestern Mutual, Merrill Lynch, those kinds of things. They don't get paid unless you have six figures to invest. And so some of them won't invest with you because they're not getting paid. Well, guess what? I don't want to invest with those people anyways, right? I don't want to invest with people who aren't willing to help me because they're not making money off of me. And so I like to choose the people that will help you start those accounts even at lower rates. I have people in my network that I specifically recommend that do help people at lower, that only have a little bit to invest. And again, through SmartVestor Pro, those people will also help you. And so you want to find somebody who is willing to take you on, but all of them can do it. So anyone who tells you they can't, they're lying. They can open accounts at any dollar amount. There are some funds that require a specific minimum balance, but you can ask your investor about that. They'll make sure they put you in funds that can take your balance that you've got.
Okay.
And they'll kind of make sure they can work with you where you're at.
Okay, awesome. Did you have any other like tips, tricks, hacks, or best advice that you wanted to share before we kind of move into letting everybody know where they can find you and how to book you for coaching if they would like?
Coupons. Coupons. I'm telling you, couponing itself is a full-time job, but things like formula companies like Similac and Enfamil will send you coupons in the mail, and they have like rewards programs where when you use that coupon, then they'll turn around and send you 2 more. And so find those things, use those coupons, do what you can to get discounts. I know Target does a thing where they'll have one day where they'll say, hey, we'll give you a $20 gift card if you spend $75 or $100 on diapers, wipes, and formula. Well, if you have that $100 to spend, if you don't do this. But if you have that, go ahead and stock up on the diapers and wipes that you're going to need, because then you get a $20 gift card in the mail. So it's like a little rebate, or a digital one that you can then turn around and spend on more diapers when you need it. So use those programs. Definitely enroll for all of the, like, I know Huggies had a rewards program at one point. So the more you spent, if you bought Huggies, then you would get discounts on Huggies, right? So find those coupons, find those rewards programs, and use them because they are to your advantage.
Absolutely.
So yeah, don't be afraid. Couponing as a whole is a very, very time-consuming process, but find the little ones that are going to help you with the things you're already buying and make sure you use them.
Yeah, awesome. And Nicole, tell everybody where they can find you online, and then if you do have any courses, ebooks, or anything like that that you want to share with everybody who may be listening to this and want to take it to the next level as far as the information that they're getting and planning for their family.
For sure. So my website's super easy, www.NicoleWeaver.com. That's it. It's my full name. So NicoleWeaver. On that site, you can schedule a consultation with me if you just want to chat and ask some questions and see where you're at. And we can talk about whether coaching is a good fit. You can also just send me a message. There's a contact form at the bottom where you can just send me a message if you have a direct question, and I will happily answer that for you. All of my coaching packages are custom because everybody's situation is different. So when we have that consultation, we'll talk about what you need and what's going on, and I'll custom make a coaching package for you. But also I'm offering 10% off to anybody who's been watching Stork Mode. So if you have been watching Stork Mode, mention it, let me know that you found me here, and you'll get your custom package and then get 10% off that package. Because I want to make sure that ironically, I don't ever want money to be a barrier to getting help with your money. It's this ultimate catch-22 where you're like, well, I don't have the money for coaching, but I know that if I had the coaching, I'd have more money. And so I love offering a little bit of discounts or waiving fees and things to make sure that that doesn't become a barrier, because I guarantee you in my coaching for you, I'll help you find the money. This is what I do. So yeah, NicoleWeaver.com. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
All right. Awesome. And I can definitely tell you guys that Nicole is very, very awesome at what she does. She definitely has been able to pay off a lot of debt herself. And so she has been where you are, and she can definitely sympathize, empathize, and give you the action steps in order to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. So definitely reach out to her, take advantage of her discount, ask her any questions that you may have, book your consultations as soon as possible, because we definitely still have time to end this year strong financially. financially if that's something that you want to do. So I will link Nicole's website and also her contact form in case you just want to ask like a specific question about something in Stork mode, and also so you can book a consultation. So if you have anything that you need help with, go ahead and click those links below. And thank you guys so much for joining us. I appreciate everybody who has listened to 1, 2, 3, or, you know, any one of the parts of this series. It has definitely been something where I have learned a lot. I'm happy that we were able to bring this information to you. And please share if you know somebody who is, you know, planning to grow their family, in the middle of growing their family, or just had a baby. Please definitely share this information with them. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you guys thought about the series. All right, so we will catch you guys next week. Thanks again.
Bye.